the waiting room?
Yes, because I'm trying to get off my phone to get on my computer.
Okay, thank you.
Not a cuckoo person.
Somebody masquerading as you.
Well, there's two Jeffs in this meeting.
It's true.
There's usually two Jeffs.
Right, because one allows me to share my screen because the other one's my personal computer. So it's just, I've got one that's non-functional, well, one for me to share and one for me to actually zoom in on.
Gotcha.
So
Okay,
at this point, can Gurninder go if he needs to?
I think so.
I mean, Gurninder, we're happy to have you stay, but
Uh,
sounds like you'd rather
Thank you,
not.
but we're still in the public hearing, right? So I can get update. What do you guys talk about the executive session?
Yeah. Well, we have to probably have Jeff or Jane brief you about it because otherwise we have to go back into executive session, whichever you would
Okay.
rather.
That's good. I'll call Jeff tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for understanding.
Have
Well,
a good
thank you.
night.
Good night.
So thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, now, is there a motion to reopen the public meeting of the planning board?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Roll call vote for Kate,
Yes.
Mimi,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
and Rosanna.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we have already done item 1 on our agenda, which was the executive session. So now we are up to project updates, old business, new business. And Jeff, I think you wanted to talk about the 375 Whitney Avenue sign file.
Yeah, so just briefly, I got a call. So this was, so the Homewood Suites is looking to redo their signs, and just because that was part of a valid and, a site plan review, they were gonna come back and amend, their plans. And at that point, what they were proposing to do was remove the pylon sign and add a new monument sign at the entrance. But later this afternoon, I got a call from their design team, just further firming up. Is it true that if we amend out the pylon sign, that will only be able to ever have the monument sign? So I just basically told them that the monument sign becomes your one sign under 646 that you're allowed to have at your entrance, and essentially the pylon sign would go away. And I'd already heard from this gentleman that the pylon sign was in, a state of disrepair to a degree. But they were now having second thoughts that they may not want to give up the pylon sign. So he has a meeting with them tomorrow to affirm the fact that that was the belief that you could have one, but you couldn't have both. So he's going to get back. He asked to be moved. If he could be tabled till September 10th, and that he'd get back to us shortly as far as what the new design that were they going to go with the new pylon, or were they going to go with a monument? So he's asking that they can be tabled to the next meeting.
Well, I have no problem if nobody else has a problem. So I see a slash in an SPR amendment discussion item. What is the special permit amendment?
Well, so what it was a site plan review amendment. So what that was the original approval included a pylon, and therefore their design would show where this new monument sign was going to be. So thus amending their site plan.
Okay, I got it.
Yep.
Anything else under project updates, old business, new business? Then we can move along to meeting schedule.
So it appears, just briefly, I'll kind of take that over if I could. September 10th, we have the continuation of the Main Street Storage Facility, 679 Main, site plan review and associated special permits, which you should have all received the comments today, staff comments related to that. We've also got the notice of discussion for the Phase 3 Holyoke Housing Authority project. We've got the Northampton Street residential notice of decision discussion. We've got the remand discussion. We've got the short-term rentals discussion, and we've
Yeah.
got the sign
Move
discussion
that
for
to
home
the
suites.
24th.
That's right, that's right. I added it twice just in case, okay. That's 24. So
Can I
then,
just ask a question about the NODs? And maybe this is a Jane. There were a couple items when we were talking about the Northampton Street residential that we sort of said that's a legal question. Are we gonna get, Jane, are you gonna give us a legal?
I thought Jane already had essentially.
Okay,
Yeah, so I
we're just
had,
not
yeah,
gonna debate it.
Yeah, we're just not debating it.
Okay. We're just going with the legal opinion you gave us before. Okay, good. That's what I needed to know. All right.
Yeah. So while we were on the schedule thing, breaking up the rhythm here, Kate reminded me early this morning that at some point we had tiny homes on our continued out, we'll talk about it someday. agenda.
Actually, I was thinking about the cannabis.
Oh,
Because
the
I think the
cannabis,
tiny
thank
homes
you.
we continued to like
Yeah,
weigh in the
yeah, way
future
in the future. Okay,
because
cannabis.
we knew more was gonna come from the state.
Thank you. Yes.
And
too
in
many
fact,
balls
it
in-
has, so we're gonna learn more about that.
Yeah. So the cannabis thing, we also did have it on the agenda, I think. It fell off the edge of the planet so hard that I can't even remember it when I've been reminded. We should, assuming that we did not continue it out for like a year, probably get it back onto the agenda.
My note that I had said that we had continued it to our last meeting, but I just found that note. So that we had continued it to the first meeting in August, but we didn't discuss it then.
So what do we do? What is the procedure when we continued something out and then we just completely missed the date, but no member of the public or applicant is involved, so we haven't really trampled on anybody's rights?
is it a public hearing or just a meeting?
It's a public hearing for a zoning text change. No, a zoning, yeah,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because
Izzy
the,
had introduced it as a matter of like, okay, do we really want to be concentrating all of the cannabis in a disadvantaged neighborhood?
Yeah, I would just schedule it, put on the agenda for the next round or whenever you can, whenever you want to, and have it discussed.
maybe we could put it on for October 8th, which right now looks pretty.
I will put, so just for what it's worth, that was last discussed on June 25th. At least that's the last agenda I have it listed on.
Yeah,
So probably, as Kate's notes say, we continued it out and then we just forgot it.
Okay, and I think at that point it was like considered cannabis beyond IG, I think, or something
Yeah.
to that effect.
right.
And then I don't know where tiny homes got left off, to be honest, and I guess I should apologize because it's been so long since we've discussed it that,
We continued it, yeah, to February 11th.
oh, February of next year.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha, okay, so I don't even have that, my calendar only goes to December, okay, gotcha, okay.
Did everybody get the announcement about the workshop about the new legislation about ADUs?
I did. There were 2 sessions. I wound up signing up for the second one.
Myself as well.
Yeah.
The first one was full.
If anybody else wants to do it, I'm sure somebody can find the invitation.
Yeah,
It
I
was-
sent it to the whole board, so they should have it.
It's on September 10th,
September 10th, yeah.
noontime. It's a Zoom presentation.
It's closed, registration's closed.
Well,
We can report back from what we learn.
take
Share
good
the
notes.
info.
Okay, I may have run right over our discussion of the meeting schedule and October 8th.
So on October 8th, what we've got listed currently is an amendment by Lynch Colvest for their, I think it's 1575 Northampton Street site. And then we've got the Cannabis Beyond discussion. Another topic that I was just thinking of, there was something else that we needed to ask Jane. Oh, there was a question that about the group home special permit and the fact that we've got Jane here, maybe she could help the board understand whether or not we should even be hearing this on September 24th.
Okay, is there a question? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, there is a question. I don't have the language in front of me, but this is about creating a special permit by the city council, of course, regulating group homes that I guess are not educational facilities. And
Mimi, I don't think the order says anything. It just is about regulating group homes, if
Oh,
I'm
okay.
remembering.
Let me just.
Yeah, I never
Just
saw.
for a
it.
zone change from the
Yeah.
council now, so now it's okay.
This was I think Counselor Bartley and Vakins co-sponsored this order. I'm gonna try to find it. I'm trying to think what it was considered.
Well, it's gonna be a public hearing, so we
Right.
should put it on. There's statutory requirements there, right? So put it on and we'll
It's
have
already on.
more of a in-depth conversation then.
Because
Okay.
Jeffrey was gonna be advertising it, so it's already been publicized supposedly to get it on for that agenda, or maybe it's still to be. It's the 24th. I know that he was going back and forth with Brianna, so presumably he was managing that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it on that date, but just, I mean, there's statutory requirements, so I would just keep it on.
Okay. Well, and since they haven't given us actual language. well,
But is
we'll see.
there,
We
Jane,
won't
if,
get language, right? So that's up to you guys to really give them that.
Jane, is there a state requirement about that? Like, can you point us to the case, what the state laws are about that? I was assuming that you can't regulate it, so.
There's certain requirements you can, I will point you to those. I don't have them with me right now, so I don't want to speak to them.
I don't need it right this minute, but I'd like to have
okay.
it before we have a public hearing.
For sure. Then yes, I can absolutely do
Awesome.
that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. This takes us to other business, which includes our revised submission requirements, which we hope will get us complete packages of things and make our entire process more efficient. And I think both Jeff and Kate have been working away at the language for that. And we would love, obviously, to get this into place and be able to vote for it as part of the planning board rules and start asking people to comply with it. And
Because then, for instance, we might already have a full traffic study rather than having to argue about whether we can condition them finishing a traffic study.
yes, exactly. And we might have a rule that says you must satisfy us that your application is genuinely complete before it is accepted for filing and the 60-day clock starts. So how do you want to proceed through this? I took some notes, I'm looking for them, but I don't know whether you want to go line by line through what we have tonight or agree to it in principle and have a vote on getting a final document done in the next couple of days and just pre-approving that as a rule. What do you think, guys?
Can I just ask Jeff, is what was linked to is what's still up on Google the final, or have you revised it more
I
since?
have, circumstantially, my afternoon got away from me. So
Okay.
with that, I know that there were still 11 comments that you had so there was a first round set of comments. Then the board offered their comments and then I responded to those. But then since then you've commented 11 times. And I only know that because it came up on my screen that there were 11 comments unanswered.
As
So-
far as I'm concerned, I only really have 2 areas that I still have questions about, so.
So with that, you know, in a perfect world, I would love to say that, can we look at, you know, those 2 points? Does the board want, you know, I'm out of the office tomorrow, but, I would like to be able to work on this on Friday. And, it would, you know, I would love to have something in play because already in a week or so, I know that we've got another, pre-application meeting. And it would be nice to be able to have something, and it's gonna be before the 10th meeting.
Yeah,
So it'd be nice to have something in play, knowing it's a fluid document, but something that if the board could in theory approve this, knowing that we're still kind of working on it, and I know it seems kind of backwards, but just have something that we can provide at that pre-application meeting,
Mhm.
would be wonderful.
yeah.
And
No,
it's
that-
my fault, because I said things got away from me today, this afternoon, and, you know, which leads me here right now, saying that. So it's just, I don't think there's anything that's, I mean, basically the items that are still outstanding have been like, just, not differences, but just like, certain things should be called out as you know, the formatting oftentimes, because when
Yeah.
this was brought over from the ordinances to Google, you know, eventually, once we take this off of Google Docs, we basically have to reformat it again. And some of this might be just the case of things sliding to the left or becoming bulletized where it shouldn't have been. And that's just you know, a reaction to the bringing a Word document into Google Docs and not having it coincide 100%.
Should we talk about Kate's 2 points?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, yeah. And if anybody else has things, we should definitely do that too. So, Jeff, I think at this point, it's not on my printout, but I think on the version that's on the web, it might be at the top of page 2-ish. It's the perennial, are these plans considered final question?
Yeah, I actually had a note
Yes.
about that. But you want to go ahead and go first and
I think I understand why Jeff wants it there and wants it that way, but I find the phrasing of it really hard to wrap my brain around, even as myself. So I feel like it's going to be a big stumbling block for applicants. So I'd really just like to figure out a way to rephrase that so it still works for Jeff, but is more consumer friendly. Because I don't think anybody applying is gonna, nobody when they start this process thinks their plans are final. Or nobody who's honest with themselves thinks the plan they submit to you is absolutely final. So I just
So-
wouldn't,
how
Like I
about,
said, but there's been several instances over the past several projects where the designer later says, well, these were just placeholder plans. So this was actually added because of the People's Savings Bank plan at the former Yankee Peddler, where what got approved and later was submitted in construction drawings were two issues where they said, well, listen, you never expected those plans to be considered final. And I said to this person, well, yeah, I did. And I believe so did the board. So later it was much behind the scenes back and forth, but they finally submitted a plan that matched what was approved. So this is where that came from.
right, I
Okay,
understand
so-
that, but I think my point being that I think what we should be doing is telling people that whatever we approve is considered final and that they have to acknowledge that here.
I mean, I would,
that's a good addition. But you know, for what it's worth, I was looking at that too and thinking, what would I think if I knew absolutely nothing about this process? And what I came up with, and I would add that line about what the planning board approves is what you're stuck with. But what I came up with roughly is the project fully designed and are the plans to be submitted for review, final and complete plans for the project, accepting any changes that might arise out of the site plan review process, with a warning that only plans considered final and complete may be accepted in an application for site plan review. I mean, if that addresses Kate's point without giving anything up, because of
Mhm.
course they're going to change things in
Yeah.
response to our comments.
I think I could live with that. I just don't want people, I want to be firm with people, but also not, be real,
Yeah, or we could do something like art
Realistic.
plans considered final. What we mean by that is,
Yeah.
you
You
know,
do not anticipate any changes other than what we will
That
agree
sounds
upon
good.
during the course of these public hearings. And
and even,
once those plans are approved, any changes will need
yes, and
to
even
be submitted.
we cannot accept applications containing any placeholders.
So at this point though, versus me trying to type and keep up, can we
Yeah.
just listen back to the recording after and I'll try to come up with a line that'll best fits those comments and then it'll be updated here for all of yous to view?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's fine. I
Yeah.
I want to give you what you need, Jeff, but
Yeah.
not. I don't want to set anybody up for failure by being like, of course it's not final.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking we give Jeff what he needs and we give a naive applicant what they need.
Yeah, because I don't want to make them feel like they're lying. I want to make them feel like they understand what's going on.
But I
And
believe-
we could also add an, if not, please explain what might alter these plans, which sweeps in the value engineering problem.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm gonna swap out this whole point here. Eventually, well, once
Yeah.
I re-listen to the recording.
Yeah, just some slightly revised language. It's not changing the substance, it's just changing the wording. And I think, honestly, that's my other point. Well, maybe it's 2 points, but they're in the same section. The one other thing that's a sticking point for me is the part about traffic impact study, which might be, it's probably like pages 12 or 13 at this point.
Right. So bearing in mind that this is directly from the ordinance, just for,
Yeah.
everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
I would just, I think that this, if I were an applicant, I would, of a smaller, if I were an applicant of a smaller project, I might see this and get worried. And so I would love to, and I understand it's not in the ordinance, so maybe it's in a different color. I would just love somewhere in or before or after the first paragraph to just ask, does this project require a traffic impact study? Yes, no. Or like, if unclear, if unknown, please explain, just so that people have to determine whether they need one, not either assume that they need one or assume that they can dodge a requirement.
Yeah.
So what I guess what I'd suggest, and basically what I tried doing in some of the others, and now whether or not there are, obviously the black text here is anything from the ordinance. Anything in red, it was stuff that either, board members or staff changed or added. So
Yeah.
what I would suggest is that we asterisk that someplace.
Sure.
And, maybe have it be someplace between the traffic impact study text and
Yeah.
this paragraph, like up, so in other words, like right someplace here, we'll add that and say, that they need to quantify whether or not they feel they need it or something.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and just in terms of formatting, one thing that I would suggest, and that we do somehow is all of this material that's taken directly from the ordinance. If there could be some sort of universal footnote saying, this is taken directly from the ordinance,
Right.
or formatting that reflects it, so that anybody reading this will see, what is, as it were, our commentary and what is there because you have to do it because the ordinance says so.
Right. Well, on a side note, and I'm kind of jumping ship, but recently, we'll get to this in a second, but I'm going to touch upon it. That, VHB was recently involved in a comprehensive plan discussion, and they even said that they use our, that we're one of the few, the way our ordinance is laid out, and that they do use our ordinance as their own
As a
checklist when
checklist.
they're submitting. So that
Yeah.
was kind of nice to hear. So
Yep.
I'll end it at that, 'cause we'll
Yeah.
talk about that next topic, but.
Yeah. No, and I think it's great to keep that format. And now that once I understood that's what you were doing, it made total sense. I just
Sure.
think there are a few places where the ordinance could use
Oh, certainly.
elaboration. The one other piece is basically at the end of this section where it talks about bonding. I just think nobody's gonna know ahead of time about the bond provided.
Yeah,
So
that was, I forget, that was borrowed from, obviously, it's a one that was, no, I take that back. That's actually from the ordinance. I do believe. Hang on one second. Because I left it in black text. Let me just go here real quick.
I think unless have trouble with the black text and just like the red like bond provided, yes, no, total, they're not gonna know that.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
Maybe
that's actually, that is right out of the, it says, I mean, it's just underneath the ordinance, under letter H, under the 3H. It says 5-year forecast, then that's the sentence directly from the ordinance, so that's why it was included.
Okay, so what if we changed the question to read, is the applicant prepared to provide any bond that is required?
yes, no, space for notes,
Yeah,
It just basically, because we're not actually, at this point, with any applicant, we wouldn't know if they needed a bond and we wouldn't know how much it was going to be. We just need to know that they're acknowledging that it might be an issue,
Sure.
yeah,
right? I mean, and it would be fine if they said like, if they ended up writing a note, like, this will be a financial hardship for me. Like, it doesn't even matter what they say as long as we know that they know.
yeah.
So those are my only, otherwise, like, I'm sure there are tweaks to it at some point, but I feel like it was, let's get it on the books.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I was. And I might have other stuff, but anything that I have, it's a pattern in my notes to myself, is just language that I think clarifies without changing what's actually being said.
Mhm.
So the 3 areas in blue here are things that I will more eloquently write and listen back to this evening's discussion and the recordings, and I'll try to make them sound better.
Yeah.
And then it'll be available Friday, if I could.
Okay,
Excellent.
so with that understanding, has everyone had sufficient time to review this document so that we are confident if I call for a motion to approve adding it to the planning board rules as cleaned up with no substantive changes?
Yeah, I would move that we would approve it with any bookkeeping changes as discussed or needed,
Yeah,
but in the substance that we've
as
reviewed.
amended per this discussion.
Yeah. I make that motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Roll call vote for Kate,
Yes.
Mimi,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
and Rosanna.
Yes, ma'am.
Woohoo!
Unanimous.
And before the next thing comes in,
Yes. Just in time.
Thank you.
No. Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for your hard work on that.
I feel like we have genuinely accomplished something here. So our next topic is a just update for the board on where the comprehensive plan is. And, you know, I missed missed. I kind of was aware that I probably shouldn't be there, but there was a focus group with some members of the public and also Jeff and Kate and Lauren about zoning. And this was a few days ago. And as part of the comprehensive plan, I have assumed all along that we, the planning board, some subsection of it, we're going to wind up, with or without help, rewriting large sections of the zoning ordinance and hoping to get it passed through city council. So, I'm going to ask Lauren and Jeff and Kate to talk more about what actually happened at this focus group meeting. But I also wanted to ask Jane, because this is a project that logically involves the entire planning board. Making a committee of 2 people to do it by themselves because of the open meeting laws makes limited sense to me. But I don't know what the reach of the open meeting law really is, whether I would have blown things if I had come in for that focus group meeting, which was a concern at the time. Whether, as I would like to, we can continue in some sense, if the non-planning board members are willing to continue with us, go on talking to them and to anyone else we might be able to recruit from the public about what they've experienced as, stumbling blocks that we could eliminate and, make things better in Holyoke by changing the zoning code. And I wanted to throw it out to the group to see what other people's thoughts were, basically, and to ask Jane about the open meeting law question.
Yeah, anytime that you're going to have a quorum of you, it's a problem.
Four.
So 3.
Then, okay.
Yeah, so 2 of us is okay, 3 of us is right out.
Gotcha.
Right.
We go through the publication and notice and open it up to the public.
But Jane, that's when we are actually discussing things. Like we could, when the big public meetings happen that are like, I mean, hopefully 100 people in a room, but maybe 30 people in a room. Can 3 of us be there if we're not talking to each other about it?
You can be
We're
there,
just
just
listening.
yeah, just listen. Like you can't like deliberate, you can't like talk about it in any way.
But we can talk with individual other people. Like say there's going to be this event that there's going to be different tables to talk about different things, and they'd like different people from the city at different tables along with members of the consultants. Could 3 of us be helping at that event if we are separately talking to people, not talking to each other?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm gonna have to get back to you on it because
Okay.
it is very tricky, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of a tricky situation.
Yeah.
So let me, I want to definitely like think about it and look into some things, and then I
Okay.
can get back to you guys.
Okay. If we're silent, we're fine. Once we open our mouths,
Right, right.
Yeah.
You can't
or
deliberate.
wear a signboard expressing our opinion.
Or
Yeah.
unfortunately, it seems to me, ask questions that are designed to elicit information that we would then deliberate on.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
is the hard thing, because, John Furman is really useful. having somebody like Peter Palambello, who is actually like renovating and renting houses in the flats, is useful. Having people who don't agree with us already telling us what's wrong with us is useful. But ideally, you want to be able to ask questions and narrow down what exactly their concerns are, whether there are ways to address them without upsetting other people, blah, blah, blah. And sorry, Lauren, I see your hand.
Well, I just had a thought, and it's a workaround. Can I, it may be completely out of bounds, but I was attending that meeting as a member of the local historic district commission, not as a planning board member. Is,
I'm assuming you're still a planning board member, but I would defer that to Jane.
yeah,
Mm.
like, is it possible to recuse myself as like a planning board member in a meeting if I'm going as chair of the local historic district?
Yes, that is possible. Yes, I would feel more comfortable if I was able to kind of look a little bit more into everything like that.
Absolutely.
No, I know. So I know you guys understand that.
That's the range of our
So
questions.
yeah, so if you guys wouldn't mind, that's my dog. If you wouldn't mind, that's my dog. If
Dogs are welcome.
My dog was howling earlier while I was trying to speak, so.
mind emailing just the question, that would be super duper helpful, just so I can look at the very specific thing. Just shoot me an email. And I am so very sorry. Back to school time. It's a little crazy around here.
So, with those constraints, I suppose I also just wanted to throw this out for discussion. If it is correct to assume that at some point we're going to have to do a fairish amount of drafting if we want to get the zoning code updated, is there an approach that the board would like to follow? Because I don't want to exclude anyone who, we're all on the planning board to do this, not just to tell applicants they have to move the mailbox for a project.
Well, what is the process for zoning change right now? Like, how does it all work if we're gonna try and change a zoning ordinance?
We propose language and the city council approves it.
Okay.
So,
do-
right, there, you each have to have a public hearing, both planning and council needs to have a public hearing. And then planning makes a recommendation, and then city council does what they do.
Ignores it.
But-
But Jane, if I may, don't they these days require everything back to them be put in legal form, even though it's still very, very draft and they won't even entertain it unless it's in legal form?
Yes.
How
Okay,
can we fix that?
Okay, so just
what?
back,
How can we fix that?
You can't right now. I mean, the discussion has been had and you can't right now.
Has it been had with the current city council?
I'm not sure, but I know we have brought it up several times and they have disagreed with us.
I would be hopeful in terms of like, since we have consultants helping us, they might be able to, there might be less drafting because they might be able to help, provide models of things that we can work from rather than.
no, yeah, it hasn't been clear to me how much help they are prepared to give us on rewriting the zoning code,
Yeah, me either, but
but, we can inquire further
Talk
about
about
that. And I just wanted to back up a little and say, one of the things that they do in other jurisdictions who do not have our city council is they, there are planning boards that assertively notice continuing difficulties with their zoning code, propose updates, which 40A of the Massachusetts Code specifically gives us the authority to do. Write their own versions that they would prefer or that they would like their councils to consider, and then go through that formal submission, public hearing, city council votes, et cetera, procedure to get them passed. And certainly my hope, and I'm reasonably certain the mayor's hope, is that, as Kate said, because we are in this master plan, comprehensive plan process, we can use that plan as a reason why the council should consider a whole package of zoning ordinance changes, and maybe use the people from out of town authority to get some momentum behind it. And, because that is the sort of thing that people tend to join the planning board in order to work on, I don't feel great about saying, well, it's going to be the usual suspects and we'll get back to you. Like, Rosanna might want to be involved in this, Gernander might want to be involved in this. So, I don't
I
think.
see Rosanna's face and how much she's got on her plate right now.
Well, but, I don't want to make assumptions about anyone's interests here. And
Honestly, if it was up to me, I would be in a lot more things. I just don't know how productive I would be spread so thin. But
well,
I'll definitely entertain the idea.
and anything we did, because 40A requires it, anything that gets proposed has to go through this public hearing process. The planning board would have to review it, probably informally at first, but we'd have to do it in public session. If it actually gets introduced, then the process Jane was describing kicks in. And so there's no way that anyone on the board is going to be completely uninvolved. It's just how involved people actively want to be. And I want to be transparent about this. I don't want to have people coming back and saying, well, I didn't know this was even happening. So, that's my agenda in discussing it tonight. And I don't know whether Lauren or Kate or Jeff has any specific comments about what happened in this meeting where I wasn't. And just as well it's turning out.
And I think it was useful.
The thing that I was kind of the most excited about talking about actually did have to do with local historic district and how to create more of them in the city. And the consultants had some good ideas for how to incentivize creating them. So I'm looking forward to further discussions on that.
Great. So.
And it was nice to hear both that like our ordinance are not out of pocket, that they are better than a lot of other local stuff, but that there's a lot of things we could do to make it better, which we already know. And there's enthusiasm from some people anyway about the fact that we might do it. So,
well, that's good. And as far as I know, we continue to look for people who are not members of the planning board who have interesting experiences or expertise to contribute. It's just because these were the people of the focus group, and it sounds like a good idea to me to keep them involved if they're willing to be. It doesn't mean that there might not be other people out there we could try to recruit. So that's what I've got on that. Does anyone else have anything? Okay, if not, then we're on to the Dwight Street zone change discussion, which, Jeff, do you want to take the lead on?
Certainly, thank you. So I'm gonna bring up just a quick map here. And so we were recently approached by a gentleman out of, I think he's out of Springfield, it's probably irrelevant, but that he's either has acquired or is acquiring lot 669 here and 692. And with that, he's looking at doing about 16 apartments. I think at one point it was considered to be condos, but I think he's going more now in the way of apartments. Regardless, currently this whole area, everything within this purple boundary is zoned BL. And so, and what you see here in yellow and red are the structures that are currently there. Now, I know this map's a little dated because I've already spoke to Kate on this briefly. This happens to be the HG&E laydown area for their warehouse here. So the idea here is going from BL to DR. 688, though, is already part of the laydown area and may not benefit them by going beyond BL to DR. But then it also opens up another conversation of the site is currently zoned RO, but we'll get to that in a second. So with that, there's a bunch of vacant properties here. So under BL, this gentleman would have to follow today's rules and regs or go for variances that he probably wouldn't get. Or at least shouldn't be, doesn't fall under the typical soil shape or topography. So with that, the idea was to maybe look at this whole area, in which staff has to a degree at this point, and found that, you know, obviously none of these buildings here comply with the BL. And with the exception of some down in this 689 area and this 6610, the majority of these are 100% residential. But under DR, you're allowed to have commercial on the first floor as long as you have 2 other units in the building, which these structures do. Also, these lots here, 6231A and 6231, they were purchased, I'm going to say recently, but recently could almost be a year now. I don't remember the exact date, but regardless, if those developers or buyers wanted to put some sort of housing there or something, they'd have to follow BL rules, which would preclude them from really doing anything there because the lots are so small or could never meet the BL setbacks. And then, so this was one version. And then there was another version here, which hopefully it switches over. Unfortunately, Alex, well, it doesn't matter, but we grabbed the wrong code here. These are really all residentially used properties over here. And that only 658 has a 340 land use code, which is kind of a retail / commercial use in this building. But when you actually look at the street view of it, it actually shows that it appears to be more residential on the upper floors. But I think years ago, it may have been a knitting store or knitting place. For some reason that rings a bell. Can't substantiate that at this point. Probably not important. But anyways, the idea might be to further grab these, what you see in this green boundary as well, because, you know, looking at the street view of these, they're all apartment buildings. And so anyways, obviously we would reach out to these people. We would send them a letter, send them some of the zoning, be available for phone calls and whatnot. But I think just to be, and well, circumstantially also just know that this parcel here is actually split zoned between both BL and I believe it was, well, it might actually, it's DR and BL. So it'd bring that into more compliance. But so at any rate, I told the guy at 692 and 669 to kind of just hold up a bit, because maybe the city would look at or entertain rezoning this whole area. So anyways, I just kind of wanted to throw that out there because this would just be a corrective action for what would arguably be some bad zoning for all these people. But obviously, you know, I would like the board, if the board was so inclined, that we could well, if they were to support this, we could then further go into it a little deeper, reach out to the owners, and then maybe have a counselor file the order to move this along. And that obviously would benefit the guy who wants to build 16 units here as well, to kind of get, because otherwise he's going to zone change it himself, which isn't a bad thing. But I mean, collectively, it might be better to do it all as one.
Yeah, and certainly I like the idea of doing it. You know, the DR zone is functional, and it's kind of exciting that people are looking to do housing down here. If we could, you know, make it more, you know, make it easier for people to actually not only think about this, but do it, I would think it would be a win for everybody. Is, you can't use these lots with the BL zoning for a lot of what people want to do.
Right, and then also just know that 6, 9, 19 here, that's currently, the community gardens used to be here. And they've been relocated to this lot, just to its east. This is obviously all vacant around here, but it's all one parcel for 6210. This does fall within the smart growth zoning overlay district as well, which if this potential builder wants to do that, he can tap into that also. But anyway, so that's what's before us. I think it makes complete sense. I don't know if it's any, I don't know if there's any value. I can bring up the zoning map too, if you all want to see that, or I don't know if this is enough. Are we done? At
Yeah, I
least-
mean, I would say I looked at it with Jeff and I think it makes great sense. The one parcel that we might exempt is the 688 because the G&E might need to keep it at what it is now so that it can because it might not make sense to change that to DR. But that's not something, we could still make the proposal and we could take it out later.
Yeah.
I said the only thing that could help that a bit to still go forward, and not saying that you even have to, is that it could fall under central services, that being HG&E. So it might, or maybe could go to that zone change, just not to create a little spot zone of BL right there. So I guess as long as they had the assurances that they could still keep doing what they're doing unfettered, it might be the benefit. But I mean, that's another discussion too that we can talk about between, well, the law department and obviously staff. It might just, so that doesn't bog down a meeting.
Yeah. It does-
Actually, sorry, can I ask one question about that? I don't know, so as to not have to file another order later, could the order be to change all of this to DR, but then to change that one specific parcel either to DR or to RO?
Yeah, well, remember someone tried that a while ago, and then later it was found that you can't do an either or
Okay.
in the orders, or for a final approval, and I forget where that was. But
Is it worth talking to HG&E to find out if they have a preference between RO and DR, and then we could write it in as one or the other?
sure.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know if that's the proper way to do it or not. I'm just.
Yeah, no, honestly, nor do I. Let me just bring this up real quick too. I'll do
It doesn't make sense to me that part of it's RO and part of it's BL.
Please, now go.
There are a lot of parcels that are split zoned.
Gotcha.
That's not the only one. It's a historic hodgepodge.
Okay.
you just-
So yeah, so
seems
with
to be-
that, you've got it currently BL and you've got it RO. So, and it just, but arguably if you did everything around it, now you're creating a spot zone. And so I don't know, that's why I guess I don't know if that would be an issue.
Well, I don't think so, because we're making it more compliant overall, right?
Well, at this point, if it remained BL, it would just be business limited unless you were making it DR. And I think then it would come down to an interpretation of something like essential services, which does that qualify under the definitions of the zoning ordinance to allow it to go to that?
Yeah.
Or do you, I mean, because RO is probably not the best zone for this either. But it just so
The
happens that's the way it
RO
is.
limited, it's already chopped up. There's that big chunk of DR on the other side of this.
Right.
And, obviously you don't want a little island of non-conforming zoning, but we've already got a little island of non-conforming zoning.
Right. So that's all really I had on that. So I guess the next step would be, if you're all supportive of it, we will continue to do some more research and then prepare a letter that could then go out to the owners, but we'll also have a counselor eventually file it, hopefully to be heard, will at least be brought to the council sometime in September. And hopefully we can get something on an agenda for October.
Well, okay, let me ask the question. Is there a motion to approve moving forward with this?
I would move that.
I would second.
All in favor?
Roll call vote for Kate,
Yes.
Mimi,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
and Roseanne.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. We look forward to the next steps.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm excited for that project.
Thank you.
Okay, and last on the agenda, Planner 1B discussion. And this again, Jeff, you're on.
Okay, so as you know, thank you. As you know, recently we got funded for a planner 2. But the issue with that was we realized that hiring someone at the salary that was proposed or that was allocated through the budget process would never be able to hire us anybody that would be willing to do that amount of work for that little of a salary. So then it was determined that what we would do is take part of that salary and increase our current, we would call him Planner 1A, that being Alex, because when he was hired, he was actually hired at a higher rate, but then was, or with the option of a higher rate at 6 months, but then was later not given that increase. So our proposal was to take a portion of the Planner 2 position and give that to Alex to compensate him to where he should be based on, well, at this point, I would say he's doing a fantastic job, but also because it was part of the, say, the promise or part of the deal. Sounds kind of harsh because it wasn't a deal. It was just part of what was promised to him upon hire, and it was never followed through on. But regardless of that now, so now we've now we would now hire a second Planner 1, because at the end of the day, the same person that would be applying for the Planner 1 would, or Planner 2 would almost be really a Planner 1, because they don't unfortunately teach municipal government in college. So at this point, what's before us is now a Planner 1B. And what that person would be, so Alex is primarily our mapping person and like special projects. And that this new person would essentially be our, hopefully, would help back me on site plan, special permit reviews, and zoning stuff. Obviously, it's going to be a significant, I don't know, how do you call it, hands-on type of thing, because again, they don't teach municipal government. I know that there was discussion also that this position somewhat be involved in grant writing, but I haven't heard much of that further. But I think any of us help support that process regardless of, whether you're Planner 1, Planner 1BA, or, myself. So at this point, though, with the understanding that this new position is probably, knowing now this salary would go for about 52,000, is going to be, I mean, a significant, it's probably, their first task would be, I need you to learn the zoning ordinance and memorize it to a degree, because that really does help in these processes, just having, contact with it, understand it, know it's there. But then, I guess the other point was, and I don't know if it was ever circulated, I think there was I have a draft job description that I think Aaron forwarded it to me, that I can forward to you all if there's anything else that you see that you'd want this position to be able to manage or be part of. It's pretty all-inclusive, though, the job description. I mean, even my job description goes beyond some of the things that I do, but then at this point, I've got others, say, doing those tasks. So at any rate, I guess I was just kind of open this up to discussion. If there's anything specific or any other concerns that you might have, what's the process you want this to look like? Alex, the board chairperson, was involved in the hiring. When I was hired by the whole board of 5, and went in for an interview with that whole board. How do you see this moving forward? How would you like to see this moving forward? I guess I'll leave it. I'll be quiet now, and I'll open it up to you all for discussion.
And this is another one, frankly, where I have no I too would throw it out to the rest of the board for discussion. We are formally the hiring authority, but how do we want to handle it?
I mean, I was also involved in, not in any of the interviews, but in reading the applications last time, which I found actually really useful. I was happy to do it. I think it's probably hard as a scheduling matter. I would guess it would be hard as a scheduling matter to get the whole board in on hiring this person, but I think to the extent that we, as many of us as possible, can be involved in some part of the hiring, that would be great.
I can be involved in this. I'm good at this. I do this a lot. I've done this a lot. When it comes to hiring, for some reason, I'm really good at that. I don't know why. So I can be involved as much as you guys want me to.
Excellent.
And for me, I may be unavailable for a chunk of September, so I don't know how quickly this would happen. But obviously, if I'm not here, I'm not here.
I'm happy to take a role like what Kate was describing of like reading resumes and being involved in that level. I personally feel like coming in front of the board of 5 for an interview would be horrible as an applicant. But if that's how we've done it before, then I feel like I vaguely remember when we were hiring Alex that there was a board introduction. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
We,
there
like,
was a
didn't
board
really-
introduction, but it's really been, we'd made a decision by then, I think.
Yeah.
And before that, there were a few occasions where we did bring people in for interviews with the entire board. And sometimes it went well, sometimes it didn't. But there was always a preliminary process where a select group from the board had worked with staff to narrow the applications down.
I mean, maybe among the board, like 2 of us can be involved in looking through the resumes with Jeff and whomever else from OPED is going to be part of that part of the process. And maybe 2 of us can be involved in the interviews, and it doesn't have to be the same 2 people as did the review of the applications. And maybe it's even better if it's different people.
Yeah. Then there would be more eyes on it and more
Yeah.
people asking questions.
But maybe like, Jeff, 2 of us, and somebody else identified from OPED or Yoni or, someone else that we think would be good.
Well,
Well-
I would argue that it shouldn't be any other department just because they don't let us interview for them, but that's just me. Because even working, like Yoni right now is interviewing for a clerk, which I would argue that we might have some contact with, but we're not on that invite. But if you want other departments involved, that's fine.
I'm not going to insist. I was just
Oh,
thinking that
okay.
it might be, folks that we interact with a lot might be an
Yeah,
interesting
I think I would tend to defer to Jeff's feelings about
Yeah.
this, both because he's been right in the past and because he's going to have to spend like half a year of his life training this person.
Right. Maybe Jeff and 2 of us is good.
Sure.
Certainly works for me.
Yeah, Jeff definitely has to be involved.
So for what it's worth, I just sent you all the draft Planner 1 job description. Feel free to look at it, make any comments back to me. But then obviously I then have to give it back to Aaron because it's Aaron's wheelhouse. So, but if there's anything that you want added to it, please let me know.
When are we hoping to, ideally, when would we be posting this, Jeff? What do you think?
I would think sometime in September with October, with an October interview. So it'll be posted for blank number of days, probably 2 to 3 weeks in September. And then hopefully we'll be interviewing sometime early October. And then, if this person is, could be, maybe it'd be a January start date, might be the best thing. a January, like say 1 or January 2, I guess, better way to put it. Because at this point, isn't it scary to think it's like 4 months to Christmas or, the holidays?
Very.
So, things are, and with all the holiday time or, Thanksgiving and then the time off around Christmas time or the holiday time, it's, it might be better for, that early January start.
So we should have any comments to you about this before the next meeting,
Right.
like by Tuesday after the holiday?
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, so, but that's even really soon.
Well,
Sure.
it's a
Yeah.
week.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I know, I agree. So it's, yeah, it's just amazing when you look at the calendar and realize how fast things are going. So if there was some comments, that would be great, because then I could then, provide them back to, I could then say, see, the sticking point is I've got to provide them to Aaron and make sure he agrees with them.
Right.
So, it all depends if I can connect with him next week. Which I should be able to, which is the Tuesday. I mean, obviously that would have to be done because like I said, I'm out of the office actually tomorrow and Thursday, but we'll be back on Friday. And then obviously we've got the long weekend. City Hall's closed on Monday. So
Would you rather have them Friday? Cause like, I'm gonna do it at the last minute whenever the deadline is. So
Right.
if the deadline is Friday, I'll do it Thursday.
So let's anticipate some comments back by Friday, so then I can hopefully connect with Aaron to see what his thoughts are on it, and then provide something back to you all for the 10th. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
that okay with other people? I'm sorry. I just created a deadline for myself.
Honestly, a tight deadline is always better for me because it's gonna stay top of mind.
Do you
9,
have
10.
You have time, Rosanna, for it?
9, 10, you said September 10th?
Oh, no, by Friday, just so that,
This Friday?
just to look at the written job description and get
Oh,
comments.
yeah, that's easy.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah. That way, maybe it can be to the next step by the time we meet next time.
Okay, well, thank you all. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Anyone have anything further about anything? Okay, then I'm going to call for a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Roll call vote for Kate,
Yes.
Mimi,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
and Rosanna.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you all. See
You all
you.
are the best.